Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, it's Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Raw Event Center. And now here's the man that will bring you all the wrestling action from Monday Night Raw, Mr. Eric M. Lima.
Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, episode number 2538. Just finished watching Monday Night Raw. As you know, it was on an earlier time, special start time at 7 o'clock, and it was over not too long ago. I finished live reacting with it with my friends Brandon Martin and William Braun, the Conqueror. So, had a lot of fun talking to those two guys, and, you know, just had a good time and all. So we'll be talking about that. But before we get to that, tomorrow on Renegade Shenanigans, a situation happened on Chillin' with Jordy this past Sunday. I will address it in a short term, but then it's going to be a little bit more an apology on my part, and I will tell you why. I'll explain why I decide I'm going to apologize. And I know it was not my fault. The situation was not my fault and all, but it was something on my part that I needed to address, because I've always been a stickler for etiquette, and let's say I'm a stickler for etiquette and manners and respect, and I feel like when it comes to a serious situation, I kind of broken the rule on that, and I'll explain why. And it was just a little short apology, no big deal. I'll explain why tomorrow. It's no big deal. It's going to be on the Renegade Shenanigans too. Around between 3 and 4, probably 3:30. I'll probably do something about that around 3:30, and I'll go about an hour doing the live stream. If you guys don't mind, it's just for tomorrow, no big deal, and everything else. And I'm, because Jordan already said his piece and everything else, and about the situation, but I'll just say my piece about it, and just not go off and just. Try to handle it in a good manner. I know Skull will agree. You're going to try to want to listen in. And so, I'll do that. So, just be on the watch for the Renegade Shenanigans. And, but right now we got to talk about what happened on Monday Night Raw. Let's do that. It's the final Monday Night Raw before the first PLE event on ESPN's app, Wrestlepalooza. And the Usos were talking on the way in. Last night, Jey Uso threw out the first pitch for the Red Sox-Yankee game, which I'm sure he enjoyed, because, knowing a lot of wrestlers and athletes, they know the Red Sox-Yankees have been the best rivalry in baseball. And I'm sure Damian Priest, being a Yankee fan, knows that more than anybody else. And then they were walking away, and they were talking, and then LA Knight confronts Jey Uso. They were arguing about to go at it, but the referees decided to break it up. Adam Pearce says, I want to see you two in my office immediately. We'll discuss this. So, and then John Cena kicked off Monday Night Raw in his home state of Massachusetts, addressing the Springfield crowd about Brock Lesnar, where he is prepared to do battle with him once again this coming Saturday night. And as you know, there are 2 events happening Saturday night. And that'll be AEW's All Out and Wrestlepalooza. So I'll probably be trying to watch both events at one time. And Adam Pearce both talks to Knight and to LA Knight and Jey Uso. And he said, listen, I have the match set up, Usos against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. But then, LA Knight says, I don't care about that. I want Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker to say, but you're not doing it by yourself. Get yourself a partner. He said, I decided to choose Jey Uso. Then, oh, that's why. Okay. There we go. And Jey Uso's not very happy about it. Meanwhile, the first matchup of the evening, the women's action, Lyra Valkyria against the Judgment Day's Roxanne Perez, and Raquel Rodriguez tried to get involved, but Jessica Carr ejects her from ringside. But then Lyra Valkyria did end up defeating Roxanne Perez with the Nightwing. Raquel Rodriguez attacks Valkyria after the match, but then Roxanne Perez joins in, and Bayley returns, and Bailey gets at Perez and Rodriguez and starts hugging Joe Tessitore, Corey Graves, Alicia Taylor, Jessica Carr, and some of the fans at ringside, but never got a chance to hug Lyra Valkyria, so a little peculiar. Now the contract has been officially signed in the women's title matchup between Io Sky and Stephanie McCare. Of course, the Kabuki Warriors interrupt. It seems like Kairi does not want Asuka. I don't know what is up with her. But for those of you who are casual, you probably... But I do know that Asuka and Io have a lot of history. You're talking about over a 10-plus year history between these two young ladies. Remember, those two and Io's sister Mio Shirai, they were known as Triple Tails. They had a lot of history in Japan when they were just freelancers at the time. But you know that Asuka, Kairi, and Mayu Iwatani, the former IWGP Women's Champion, had a history as Freedom. And as you know, they also appeared on Lucha Underground as Doku. That would be Kairi. Yurei, that would be Mayu Iwatani. And Hitokiri, that would be Io. So that's why I think Kairi Sane's a little bit torn between Asuka and Io, because Kairi formed a team with Asuka as the Kabuki Warriors. They became women's tag team champions. So also, Asuka accomplished a lot, being a Grand Slam champion, as is Io Sky. And if I were Kairi Sane, so listen, you two accomplished a whole lot. It's my turn to accomplish a whole lot. So never know what's going to happen between those two. So and then. Stephanie McCare tells Asuka, get out of my face. He said, you know what, you're going to have a match now, you versus Kairi Sane. So Kairi Sane and Stephanie McCare. Well, Kairi Sane's been caught off guard, but then she was ready, and then she goes, Kairi! And all that. And Kairi goes with him. And then Knight talks to Jimmy Uso, but then Jimmy Uso turns Knight down and says, dude, you got to pick another partner. So... another matchup, Penta versus Kofi Kingston. A heck of a matchup this was. But Xavier Woods and Grayson Waller, with that stupid petition to ban the Mexican Destroyer, decides to get involved. But then Penta fought him off and ended up winning the matchup. Now, Jay was on the phone, and Jimmy Uso caught him on the phone. He said, who was on the phone? Nothing. And then Jimmy Uso said, you better tell LA Knight no. He said, I did tell him no. But you're acting like you tell me what to do. I'm your kid or something like that. And he goes, last time I checked, there's no Ula Fala around your neck. And then Jimmy walks off. Then Jimmy Uso ended up talking to LA Knight, and I changed my mind. I'm in. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch was addressing the Springfield crowd. Of course, CM Punk and AJ Lee interrupted Rollins and Lynch. And then Rollins and Lynch had AJ Lee slaps Seth Rollins. Rollins and Lynch argue. Lynch walks out. And then Punk was chasing Rollins. And then Lynch ends up attacking AJ Lee, hitting her with a manhandle slam. And then Lynch slaps Punk, and Rollins and Lynch retreat. And it was all a ruse by those two. So if I were Punk and AJ Lee, I'd be full of P&V this coming Saturday. New Day and Waller then... Bonnie Saxon was interviewing Dominic Mysterio, who was also the Intercontinental Champion and AAA Mega Champion, but they were interrupted by New Day and Grayson Waller attacking Penta, and the War Raiders came to chase them off, came to his aid. More luchador action, and that will be Dragon Lee versus El Grande Americano. And thanks to the two other Americanos, despite the fact that AJ Styles chases one of them out, a third Americano gets involved, takes out Styles, but Americano ended up winning the matchup. And so I'm telling you, those two other Americanos got to be the new Catch Republic. And if I were them and Ludwig Kaiser, take out the masks, boys, form a new Imperium, and start kicking butt. And then Lyra Valkyria was about to go knock on Bayley's door to talk to her. But Bayley's, screaming and yelling, and all of a sudden she knocks on the door creaked open. And then she tells Bayley, thank you. And then Bayley snaps at her. And it looks like it looks like Lyra is not feeling very comfortable about this. Are we seeing a whole new version of Bayley that we've never seen before? We'll find out. Well, Rhea Ripley's text starting Stephanie McCare says, no matter if it's you or Io, I'm coming after that championship. And then Stephanie Vaquer went one-on-one with Kairi Sane. And Stephanie Vaquer did win the matchup. It was a pretty decent matchup. Asuka was about to confront Vaquer after the matchup, but then Io Sky comes out and just says, no, we're not doing this. Tells Asuka. Asuka's yelling at her. And then Io turns around, shakes hands with Stephanie Vaquer. And Asuka and Sane did retreat as well. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker addresses the Usos in LA Knight. And now what's going to happen at Wrestlepalooza in tonight's main event. Io was arguing with Asuka, but, Kairi was trying to stop her, but then Io says, I'm going to need to do this by myself. Please understand. And then she goes, fine. I got a hunch that I think Io is playing us for a fiddle, man. Listen, she's great. Everybody loves her. I think it's all about the mind game. I'm telling you, Io is getting us hooked on consider. I think it's sort of psychological, but I love Io. But like I said, Io knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. I think it's going to be all a ruse. I got a feeling that Io, Asuka, and Kairi would get us hook, line, and sinker. Because I'm sure if Io in the back of her mind wants to do whatever it takes to become champion, it's going to... But you know what? It's okay. I'll be cool with that. So... Then Judgment Day was celebrating Dominic Mysterio winning the AAA Megas Championship, but Finn Balor confronts him about El Grande Americano. He says, next time you want some help, don't ask us for help. And then J.D. McDonough goes, I'll talk to him, cool, And then the girls were concerned, Roxanne and, they were talking, no, yeah, that's what Liv would want, really? And then all of a sudden, it seems like after, Dominic was talking to Roxanne and Raquel, here comes Rusev. And he says, hello. And he's saying, oh, my hands are full. He goes, yeah, but you're saying hello to the next Intercontinental Champion. And I'm going, yes, Rusev going for the Intercontinental title. And if I were Rusev, I would play the smart role on this one. I would bring in Lana and try to have him seduce Dominic Mysterio to give Rusev a reason to really lay it on Dominic and destroy him and take the Intercontinental title. This one I'm for. I'm for Rusev being the next Intercontinental Champion. Make it happen, WWE. Make it happen. That punk kid, Dominic, he's gonna realize that when you have two titles, there's more of a target on your back than there is when you have one. Trust me. Then LA Knight and Jimmy Uso took on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And Reed and Breaker ended up winning that match, but the Bronze attacked Jimmy Uso after the matchup. Jay Uso comes to his brother A with a chair. Knight confronts Uso, and then Uso calms him down and all that. So Knight drops the chair, goes fine. They two shook hands and hugged. But then Knight hits Jay with the blunt force trauma move. It's like they're even. And I'm sure hopefully Jay Uso realizes that. Well, that is it for tonight's episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans 1977. Tomorrow we have, like I said, Renegade Shenanigans 2 live stream here on YouTube on my channel. Check it out if you can. I'll have to address a few things, and I'm not going to go in full detail what happened because most of y'all saw what happened. But I will, I'll give my 2 cents on it, so to speak, and and then come up with an apology on my own because there's something I do need to apologize for, but it isn't for what everybody thinks it is. Okay, so I'll explain tomorrow why. All right, but also tomorrow we're gonna have some high rollers. We're gonna do that. Also NXT Homecoming and Full Sail University tomorrow. Lots of matches happening there. We know the North American title will be online. Ethan Page against the returning Tyler Breeze. That match is happening. Trick Williams teams up with old friend Carmella Hayes. The Trick Mello game back together with Trick as the TNA World Champion to go up against DIY. 6-woman tag team matchup is Fatal Influence, the NXT Women's Champ JC Jane with Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley going up against the Dream Threesome of Rhea Ripley, Women's Champion, WWE Women's Champ Tiffany Stratton, and possibly the Women's World Champ the next women's world champion is Stephanie Vaquer. Who knows what's going to happen in this situation? Lots more things are going. Lots more things. Who knows? Who else is going to make the return to NXT Full Sail? That's going to be on the CW Network tomorrow. So that's what's on the agenda tomorrow for this channel. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show once again, and thank you for listening in. So until the next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, take us home.
That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and Dorf of Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.